Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success.
I think that, I've done a lot of research on leadership. I've seen so many association executives throughout my time, both through National Association of Trial Lawyer Executives, the folks that run trial lawyer groups around the country, and also here in Austin, the sort of the seat of government and the seat of major statewide associations. Those executive directors, they've taught me a lot about what leadership is, and both in what to do and what not to do. But I think that for me, I think that anyone can smell a fake. So I have to be genuine. I have to be my genuine self. I have to be vulnerable with the team that I lead. I communicate with them. I tell them what's going on. Even former staff members know that, if there was a problem, we walked to the wall and read the writing on it together. I don't think anybody should be surprised if they get fired. But I think that communication with the staff and treating them with the respect that they deserve is important. They're all specialists, and I think you have to hire good people and then get out of their way. I don't pretend to do what they do. I don't pretend to be a specialist that I am not. And I honor their specialty and get out of the way and let them do their jobs.
Yeah, Tiffany, I mean, you are such an inspiration. You are absolutely genuine. I mean, the first time I met you, you're just such a warm person and such a welcoming person. And that comes through everything you do. So, I mean, when it comes to being able to trust people and turn over those reins, how do you do that? I'm still trying to learn. How do you step back and really, really trust the people that are working for you to just kind of run with it? And then how do you, I don't know, kind of herd them into going all in the same direction with one voice, one focus? What skills do you use to be able to do that?
It's communication and objectivity. I think that it's hard for any CEO. These are lonely jobs, and you can't be friends with your employees to some extent because you have to remain objective and you have to value the results that they produce over the friendship that you might have with them. It's really hard. But I learned a lot from my predecessor, and I know how to strike that balance, I think. I do think that we learned a lot together. I think that when I took over as CEO, I mean, I jumped into the deep end of the pool. I did not have the experience of a CEO, but I was brutally honest with myself about the things that I did not know. And I embarked on getting my CAE designation. That's a Certified Association Executive designation. And once you, it's a test, it's a 4-hour test with 200 multiple choice questions in every domain of association management. And the thought is that if you carry that designation, they can plug you into whatever nonprofit association and capably run it based on best practices and professional practices in association management. When I went through that process, I had to be brutally honest with myself about the things that I didn't know. I had to learn a lot. I spent a year in classes and various seminars on financial management and for nonprofits. And As I learned, I brought my team along with me, and we worked on things at TTLA during that process. And the staff has been brought along on that journey with me. Um, you know, management is doing things right, and leadership is doing the right things. And I think I have to be invested in the success of the people who work here. And they know that. They know that I want them to be successful. They know that I value them. And I think that comes through in their work and their collaboration with me and the rest of the folks on our team.
That's something that we have spent a lot of time talking about, this idea that when you find yourself in a leadership role, or you're starting a business, or trying something new, that oftentimes you do just jump right into the deep end and you don't feel ready, you may not feel prepared. What are some of the things that you feel like you've kind of overcome getting into a role? You've been in that role now, right, for quite a while. And so when I first met you, I have a hard time ever imagining that you weren't just a complete pro from day one. I still don't know. I still don't know if I believe that you didn't know what you felt like you should. But what are some of the things that you kind of had to overcome within yourself to? I say all the time, I'm still kind of faking it till I make it, right? And as long as nobody else can tell that I'm a big fraud, it's okay.
We're not talking about imposter syndrome here today. We're not doing it.
But tell us a little bit about, what are some of the things kind of specific to you, specific to TTLA, that you feel like you've had to overcome?
I knew that I didn't have the experience as a CEO. And when they gave me the role in 2014 and I officially took over, I did a few things. This group in NATLE, the National Association of Trial Lawyer Executives, these are people, mostly women, that do what I do. And I've been a member of that group forever. But those women I have on a text string, and for the first year, even now, I still consult them. But that first year, any decision I made at that time, I would run it by them and say, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. And they confirmed, yes, that's the right step to take. Before long, I realized I've got this. And you sort of check your own work with people are experienced, that are wise, that have done it the right way. And as long as I was getting a good grade from those folks and getting confirmation from them, that was extremely helpful. I think I've gotten past that now, but I do still every day I collaborate with my team. I collaborate with my president. I talk to members about, their experiences in TTLA to make sure that we're evolving and doing the things we need to do for diverse members and for younger members, because that's who's going to take this over in the future. But I do think, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. We have a weird structure at TTLA. I'm not the chief lobbyist. Someone else does that. And I've been granted authority on, a huge organization, millions and millions of member dollars that I need to be a good steward of. And that is what I check my paper against in the actions that I take. Is what I'm about to do, is the money we're about to spend something that's going to move the mission forward? And will the people who gave this money feel good about having done it? I also constantly think about earning their faith and making decisions that make members proud that they put me in this position. I want to make sure that those lawyers feel good about choosing me, and that never escapes me. But I think with the stuff that I had to overcome internally was just self-doubt and, the fear of making a mistake. and the learning from the mistakes of my predecessor and making sure that I don't repeat those.
Well, I started practicing criminal defense right before COVID hit. So then, it was a slow progression into starting my own solo practice, hot criminal law. And after resigning from the DA's office in 2016, I took some time off and really reflected on what I wanted to do and realized that what I was good at was what I had done for the last 20 years. And I had practiced criminal law as prosecutor for 7 years at the DA's office. So that was 1995 to 2001. I was on the criminal district court bench for 10 years. So I presided over all felony cases, everything from your state jail felony to capital murder and everything in between. I also had the opportunity when I was on the bench, realizing that the majority of the folks that were coming in front of me had co-occurring disorders. They had mental illness and substance abuse issues. And what we were doing is we were just putting them in the penitentiary or putting them in the state jail. And it just became this revolving door of individuals going in and out without any real help. So I had the opportunity to create a mental health diversion program. So kind of all these experiences led me to where I am today. So when I was elected to the district attorney's office in 2013, I really wanted to bring those initiatives to the DA's office. Sadly, I had to resign early, and I took time off to get well, take care of myself, realizing that I'd spent 20 years helping everybody else and not helping myself. So I took that much needed break. So when I started my practice, I really wanted to focus on advocating for individuals charged with crimes. And the majority of them do have have mental health issues. So I gathered all the resources that I've learned over the past 20 years and wanted to create something different. Something that just doesn't bring in clients and I just take their case, go down to the courthouse, plead it, I'm done, I never see them again.
Unfortunately, so many defense lawyers do.
I just thought I want to do it a different way. So I have kind of developed and tried to develop a strategy that's more of a holistic approach. So once they come to me, I have resources that are available to them. So, and I've had the benefit of being on the bench and being a prosecutor. So as a criminal defense attorney now, when a client comes to me, the first thing I think is, okay, what would I want to see if I was the judge? And what would I want to see as the prosecutor to know my client? And what's the strategy that we need to use, even whether it's mitigation or it's defense? And I try to bring that to each client that I serve. So it's organically growing. I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of it's just, to me, there's nothing more fulfilling than knowing that it's just someone's life. You realize it's just not a case. It's someone's life and their family and their children. And I try to take all those things into consideration. So it's not a high volume practice, but I like to say it's a high quality practice.
Yes, excellent. Well, so we've got obviously a ton of stuff to discuss. I mostly work on civil cases. I do probably 15-20% of criminal cases, but I've really found that it is, I work the same on any case, whether I'm working for free or charging the most. I don't tailor my work ethic to the case that I'm working on, but I do find in criminal cases, it is a little bit different when somebody's life truly is on the line, right? Dawn's practice focuses on helping people that have been catastrophically injured. And those cases are certainly important, but I always find that when I'm working on a criminal case, it just is a little bit different when I feel like if I don't do my job the best way, like somebody's life is truly going to be ruined, right?
Yes, yeah. And that's just something, it's all I've ever done is criminal law. So, when I went to Texas Tech, I graduated from law school. I went right from graduation from college, Tech, to law school in 2.5 weeks. So Texas Wesleyan was a brand new law school, what is now Texas A&M. It was his first year that it was accredited. So I graduated in December 92, started law school January 2nd, 93. And then I took criminal law as one of my first classes, and I knew, and Law and Order was all over the place. And so it was my favorite show. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be a prosecutor. So I knew that coming from a new law school, everybody was from SMU that was going into the Dallas DA's office. So I started interning there my second year and just stayed there until I graduated. And I was just like, made sure that I was there every day. And I was there so much that hopefully they'd give me a job.
It's interesting fact patterns for sure. I also interned at the DA's office in law school, and my first week interning, I watched a trial, and it was an attempted murder case, and the defendant had used a shotgun, and in the prosecutor's closing argument, he grabs the shotgun and cocks it. And I was like, whoa, welcome to, I didn't go to law school in Texas. So I was like, whoa,
welcome to Texas.
So certainly a cool experience. So I'd love to just get 2016 out of the way. You mentioned that you resigned from the DA's office. Some people, I'm sure, do not know that you had a very public mental health struggle, and ultimately you did resign from the DA's office. Let's talk about it, and then I want to, kind of get it out of the way, because you're doing such good work now. I don't want to.
No, I think it's important to talk about it because I think that that's what made me the lawyer that I am today, and it's certainly made me the person that I am today. I had gone, from 23 to 24 to the DA's office, trying cases all the time. Then I was in the child abuse unit for 5.5 years, so I only tried first, second degree felonies and capital murder of children. And so dealt with that for 5.5 years, thinking that it didn't affect me, that I was just doing my job and I was good at it, but it did affect me more than I even realized. And then immediately jumped to being on the bench, a district court bench, felony court, and, presided over roughly about 25,000 felony cases. So, you hear everything, the worst of everything all the time. And, just kept kind of pouring my heart and soul into that. Then I also created and presided over a mental health diversion program that was, aside from my day job, y'all probably might have heard drug court, those things. And they all exist now, these specialty courts. But back in 2003, they were brand new. So this was the first felony mental health diversion program. There was, Judge Wade was doing a great misdemeanor one, and then Crusoe was doing a drug court. And so it was the highest risk probationers to reoffend, and they all had mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And they came into my program for a year. So I did that aside from my regular job. I did that for 7 years. And so just kind of pouring everything into my job and letting everything else go to the wayside. And I think that, looking back, realizing that you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. And I was not doing that.
Did you feel like you could talk about it? I just feel like in our profession in general.
Back then, when I look back, I was going so fast. And so, and as a judge, you're running for re-election each time, and the political scene was changing. And so you're constantly going, you really, and I am a 0 to 1,000 kind of person, which I've learned not to be so much. So it suited me at the time when I was younger. But it took its toll. And then when I decided to run for DA, I had to resign from the bench. And that was a whole nother political arena. Let's put it that way. Running for judge is different, but then running for DA, that's, I was the underdog for sure. So I was running
in your race.
In my race. I think I've always been the underdog in the race. That's why I'm such a fan for the underdog.
What made you decide to go from, being a judge? Well, first of all, just those are huge steps in your career, going from a lawyer to a judge and then running for DA. How did you make those?
People might just say,
right.
I'm good.
How did you make those decisions?
Looking back, and and I say it's not arrogance, it was a belief. I believed in what I was doing. I had so much passion for it. So I remember thinking, when I was prosecuting cases, and I was in front of a really good judge that I got to learn how to be a lawyer, Judge Molly Francis. And I watched her and I was like, I want to be a judge. So I remember thinking, okay, that will be that's the next thing I want to try to do. And then really when I was 25 or 26, I remember thinking, I want to be the DA one day. And I really believed that I could do these things. Now, I mean, I don't know if it was a God thing. I don't know if the stars were aligned perfectly when it happened. But I know that I had a true, honest belief, and it wasn't an arrogance about it. It was just that I knew that it's what I wanted. I just felt like this is what I could do. So I had every best intention every time.
So I'm always so impressed by people that have the courage to start their own practice. So tell us a little bit about you and how that came about.
Oh my gosh, we would need like a 3-series podcast to talk about how this all came to fruition.
We could do that.
But you need to really, you really need to understand my background before even being a lawyer to understand how I even got here, because I think about all the time, like it's crazy how I've reached this point, because I had big dreams as a young girl, but I far surpassed that. And I feel so grateful to even be where I'm at. But, I really wanted to be a doctor. It all started there. And, I took the MCAT. I did okay. I was going to have to move to go away for med school. That wasn't an option for me. I was working full time and barely making it financially. So I started working at a law firm, just answering phones. It was like one of my third jobs that I had, and in the day. And it eventually progressed to me like doing more and more and more at the firm. And then I kind of was like, I guess I'll take the LSAT and go to law school. And I got in, and I was terrible. I was so bad that I had a professor tell me, you should really reconsider being a lawyer, because science and law was very different for me. I have since gone back and taught that professor's law class, by the way.
Wow.
But yeah, twice. But so I got really upset. Yeah, I got really upset about that. And so I started practicing talking out loud and recording myself. And it eventually became where I was winning all these mock trials and getting Kellye Awards, top of my class. And people were like, this is so bizarre because she seems so stupid. And from that point forward, but they did. But from that point forward, I really learned that if you are prepared, that will give you confidence. And confidence is key to succeeding at being, I think, in anything you do in business, but especially a lawyer. So when I went and started working as an associate in Chicago, I was so thrilled, and I wanted to be the best associate ever. And I was putting just as much effort like I did in law school to be that perfect cookie cutter associate. And in doing that, I really realized that I didn't have any self-identity. And I was actually really unhappy. I was telling myself I was happy, but I wasn't. I was trying to be like everyone else, be the stereotypical female lawyer that everyone expects you to be. And I was really struggling with, this isn't necessarily who I am, but this is what society, expects me to be and dress and look and talk. So I was just kind of going through motions, and I didn't have any creativity. And one thing I want to say, and for all anyone who's an associate attorney at a firm, I want to say it is a privilege to associate your name with that firm, and you need to treat it like it's almost your own firm. And that's what I did. I really cared about my cases. I cared about this was my own business. And with that mentality, I didn't know it at the time because I never dreamt of starting a law firm. That was the best thing I ever did for myself, because when I did start a firm, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I had been paying attention to what everyone was doing, from the secretaries to the paralegals to the liens, so that it prepared me for when I went out on my own. But in the process of trying to be this amazing associate and never make mistakes, I was really burning myself out. I mean, I was working every single day till 2 a.m. I mean, I really just lost myself so much so in my work that I think I just essentially snapped. So when the time came where I decided to start my own firm, it was actually not even a decision. It was an impulsive, I quit. I've had enough.
Wow.
And I'm actually leaving the practice of law. I thought, because I was so emotional about how personally I was taking my cases or taking mistakes. I had a hard time accepting criticism. It was really difficult for me, that I felt like I didn't have the backbone to be a lawyer. I didn't have what it took. I didn't fit the mold. So I quit, and I had nothing planned at all. My husband didn't even know I was quitting. It was literally like, I'm done. Boom.
That's
And
crazy.
5 days went by. Yeah, I 5 days went by, and I'm like, I had organized my closet. I had redone the pantry. I'm like, what the heck do I do now with myself? And I had a mediation coming up on cases that I had brought in that were my own cases that I left with my firm, that they had agreed that I could still partake in because I didn't want to abandon my clients. And I went to that mediation, and man, it was like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I swear. I realized at that moment, like, what the heck am I doing? I am meant to be a lawyer. This is what I was born to do. The fact that I am passionate and that I am emotional is not a bad thing. And I think as female lawyers, we're sort of trained to think like, we can't be that way. We can't be emotional because, of course, someone's going to step in and say, well, that's women for you. But I think that was the quality that I had that really helped me succeed. So when I decided I needed to get back into law, which was like a week after quitting, I was like, well, where do I go? Who's going to take me in? And it was really scary. And, I was still heartbroken from leaving my firm. It's the greatest heartbreak of my life, but yet the greatest decision. And some people were saying, like, you should start your own firm. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard. Like, I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to start an LLC. Like,
turned out to be a good decision.
Yeah. And so my husband's like, well, I can start an LLC for you. I've done it. I'll make you a website. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then they're like, you got to get insurance too. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, there really wasn't, I'm not going to lie, I should not probably admit this, there wasn't really a business plan. There wasn't. But I had my work ethic, and what I learned, I thought, I was this quiet, little lawyer who didn't have a voice. But what I learned is apparently my voice that I didn't even know I had was reaching people, because people started contacting me saying, hey, I have a case, or I need help on a case, or will you co-counsel with me on a case? So a majority of my business started with actually co-counseling, which if anyone's interested in starting a firm and having low risk or low costs, I highly encourage starting out that way, because you're joining cases that other attorneys are already investing in, so you don't have to put up the funds to invest in those cases. And that's how I got my start. And it exploded from there. I mean, in 2 months, I had, I think, over 25 cases already, which was amazing. But it is scary. And, being a solo practitioner, it can be, you have your moments where it is lonely and you feel like, am I enough? And I think as women, we always sometimes think that, whether it's in our relationships or as a daughter or as a wife or as, an attorney, we always wonder, are we enough? And I have to give myself daily affirmations and remind myself I am, because if this were easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
I think the biggest asset that I have is relationships in the industry. If I could hire every single one of my friends from the industry, and you know who you are, You know who you are. If you know, you know. I would hire everyone because for the people that I think are excellent, they already know that I've asked them, would you be willing to work with me? Even if it's not in a full-time position right now, because for me, those people have proven their excellence in different situations that you can't teach that to somebody. It's just, for me, I've been able to observe it. And that's how I know that there are tons of female architects out there who are not represented well in leadership, because I've seen the leadership qualities that I want to see in a lot of my colleagues and people I've worked with over the years. So for me, if the sky was the limit and you didn't have to worry about like, you know, money or anything like payroll, I would literally have like a team of like 12 people right now of people in the industry that I've known over the last like 10 plus years, because they're all gifted.
Well, and I think it's so important for business owners, especially when you're starting out, to realize that you cannot do it all, right? It's really hard to think, okay, well, and starting out, sometimes you have to be very mindful of your costs, and you have to make an effort to keep costs down. And so you think, okay, I'm going to handle the marketing, or I'm going to handle, you know, certain things that that either you don't have the experience or the expertise to do. But if you are able to hire people to help you recognize your strengths, that way you can focus on what you're good at, right? Mm-hmm. And then hire people around you to do the things that you aren't as great at.
Sure. I think we are in a good way, in the best possible way. We're hitting this slight dilemma where I'm doing less and less designing and more like administrative and business related stuff, which
and that falls in line with the question that I had, because you said the previous firm, you'd gotten into a place where it just wasn't as fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And so then you leave, you start your own firm. Are you doing more fulfilling? Well, maybe the first year, and then now because of the growth plan, is that what's pulling you into the management portion of the job?
I think I didn't realize when I first started this that there was so much more of the business side, that working for a firm, especially a large firm, it's like working for a big corporation. You have an accounting department, you have this department, that department. So everyone else handles all the other noise.
You go out on your own. You're like every department, all rolled
it's me.
into
It's
one.
me.
Yeah. You're like, oh, the invoicing, the billing, shoot.
Yeah.
Do you love that part of it though? I mean, what do you think? Are you pulled a little bit? How do you feel?
Accounting.
I
hate it.
Girl.
The number thing is not my thing.
No.
I hate it. I am really, really good at pricing models for projects. I hate accounting though. Accounts receivable, accounts payable, like you can literally miss me with that, meaning someone else can do it. And I thankfully have someone that is great, again, someone I know personally. So that relationship is helpful because she understands the business. But I do not like all the hats that I have to wear. I would love to just be a designer and just live free and not have to worry about all that other stuff. But I can't do that as the leader. And so I've definitely had a lot of learning that I've had to do, especially on the accounting side. It's the thing I hate the most. And it's the thing that took me the longest to understand, because I cannot perform well without understanding the, financial health of our business.
It's arguably it's important to love what you're doing and to be happy, but the accounting side of it is important, right?
Yeah.
I realized that I needed to finally hire some support staff when I had invoices that just hadn't been sent out because I was too busy doing the consulting thing.
Right.
And I'm like, crap, I'm not doing the bookkeeping and I'm not sending out invoices, and I need to get paid, right? And you don't get paid if you don't send out invoices. I kind of learned the hard way, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't have time to do this. I need to hire somebody to help me do this.
Absolutely. And I think I also asked questions of other people, other more experienced designers than myself. Particularly in the first year, shout out to Bethany Lewis, because she is an amazing designer here in Dallas. She is so experienced, so skilled. She literally can do any type of design. And she had her own firm at one point and then decided to go back to the corporate setting. And so I just started picking her brain, and I was like, Bethany, please tell me what I need to do, because that mentorship that she provided for me was really, really critical. And I think having, walking through those experiences for her, she started her firm during the 2009, 2008 financial crash. So it was out of necessity that she did that. So there was a lot of hard lessons that she had to learn. And I wanted to just kind of skip over those hard lessons and just try to get as much information as possible. And I still think there's a lot of like mentorship that I'm trying to get from other experienced designers. We are the type of firm that nobody's too experienced or too old to learn something new. I think we always want to better ourselves by education. And so I'm okay with being the type of leader that humbly asks for help because I have a lot of areas that I need to grow in.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.